Of course, the moment you have a blossoming relationship, in come new challenger. It just had to happen. I think the moment that Juju showed up on the screen, I'm like, yeah, of course. Because, I mean, we basically have Kitagawa just this close to confessing to Gojo, so insert wrench. Throw that wrench right into the mix. But yeah, this episode was, episode 6 was extra spicy. Extra ecchi this season, this episode. So seems like they're kind of ramping up that ecchi factor. A lot of interesting perspectives and obviously indicating certain things, but great episode overall though. Just kind of, I guess, mixing up the flavor of the show itself. Granted, there's a side of me that's kind of sad. Like I almost want a little more time with Kitagawa and Gojo. Just having that moment where she'll finally confess to him, but I'm sure that'll come eventually. But it really did feel like they just wanted to throw a wrench into the mix and really kind of mix things up at this point, showing different flavors and technically possibly a co-op cosplay, which kind of feels like that was indicated with the intro. The moment they started showing that Juju wanted to be this particular character, and oh, by the way, there's a sister. That sister looks very familiar to the opening. Even having Kitagawa at the very end, like, can we go ahead and do like a Black Lily / neon thing? And she's like, no. And I'm like, you know you're doing it because it's literally an intro. But yeah, opening up the episode, again, playing off what we kind of left off with the last episode. Gojo saying that she was beautiful. And then Kitagawa just really not being able to get that out of her head, just constantly thinking about Gojo and having the flowers, the flower effect happening around Gojo. So I'm like, yeah, they're going all in on this whole thing. And it was cute because it didn't really take long for Kitagawa to really get the clue. Like, it wasn't an aspect of like, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this way? No, she's literally at the point that the grandpa shows up talking to the sister about how like there was all this aspect of him finding these hoes and how he was scared by that. And she's like, oh, he's just a normal high schooler. Most high schoolers have multiple pairs of these. I'm like, I don't remember that. But anyways, but it really kind of, I guess, hinting on the idea that, you know, he's a high schooler. He should be, you know, exploring things. But then him coming in there and immediately he's got a dress and then Kitagawa shows in. So, but it was cute because they have this whole conversation between the grandfather and Gojo, and they're talking about the cosplay that he made for her, and they're kind of scrutinizing it and talking about it, and Gojo's kind of pointing out the flaws that he has in his whole creation, and the grandfather's kind of like, oh yeah, I kind of see that. It was a cute little conversation, but from our perspective, we're seeing Kitagawa just freaking out, like, oh my gosh, I am totally head over heels for this guy. I'm sorry, I'm totes over heels, head over heels. I'm sick of the totes thing. I know she's a gyaru, so it doesn't bother me as much as the my dude thing, but I'm starting to get annoyed by it. But yeah, she totes head over heels for Gojo, and yeah, that's definitely showing. And she's at this point seems like she's pretty much sold on it. Like, you know, this is a guy I like now. Like, she's basically said I'm in love with him. Like, she's sold on it. So, like I said, I'm kind of nice that it didn't take a million episodes of will they, won't they. It's already into it. Like, Kitagawa is at this point realizing she likes this guy, and she kind of doesn't know what to do with it, but at the same time she acknowledges it, and that's enough for me. And that's when it gets into the conversation with them eating together. Apparently she's going to come over to eat dinner with him on a daily basis, which it's kind of cute because it's acknowledging the fact that she's kind of similar to Gojo and the fact that they both don't really have their parents. Like, Gojo doesn't have both of his parents, whereas on Kitagawa's side, she has lost her mother to an illness, and her father's just not there. He's always somewhere else for a job. So the both of them are kind of alone in that regard. So it was kind of cool to have a little bit of a connection there. And additionally, having an excuse to bring Kitagawa over on a daily basis for dinner because she's apparently been eating convenience store food that's super greasy. And even though she said that I'm good at cooking, I'll help you when he was having his problem, he's now realizing that was probably just microwaving. So sure. I wouldn't turn her down if she went through the trouble of microwaving some convenience store food. I would be all about praising her for it. But there was an additional statement that was made throughout this entire thing, which was Gojo assuring his grandfather nothing. They didn't do anything. And later on, as Kitagawa literally say, because she doesn't know what to do with these feelings for him. And at the same time, she's like, but what if we were doing something? Like, it was indicating this idea, like, you know, I would have been fine if we did do something at this point. So yeah, we've lost Kitagawa. She's like, she's full on sold at this point. Like, she's willing to go all the way at this point. So really cute in that regard. It hasn't really at this point indicated, I guess, not that it matters, but like what kind of a person in that area of relationships is she? Has she gone all the way with somebody? Is she, again, that it indicates at this point that she's one of those people that seems like she's very forward, but she's not really. Again, going back to Gojo first measuring her, she was blushing over a certain part of herself. And so it was almost one of those things of like, is she one of those people that's forward, but then there's that stopping point? But it really feels like one of those things of the way that it kind of translated that whole thing, that whole scenario is that's kind of something she's willing to do. And that's not something typically somebody that has that boundary that they don't want to cross would be willing to say so loosely. So I don't know if they'll end up getting into it. Again, not that it matters. But yes, that's when we get the appearance of Juju. She just randomly appears, and Grandfather lets her right in, claiming that she was a friend of Gojo's, and lets her go take a bath. And then Gojo comes home, and he's like, why would he say that a friend came over? Kitagawa's working a day. It's got to be a con man or something. So he rushes up there and opens the door, and yeah, sure enough, there's Juju, and she's pretty much completely uncovered. And yeah, that... Like, again, we're ramping up the etchiness here, but he, of course, calls her chibi. She gets angry, she slips and falls, and he sees everything. And this thought process immediately goes to this whole scene where he was talking to his grandfather about why they're always bald and talking about smooth skin and everything, and it's like, oh my gosh. It's like he's like seeing this, and his mind goes to a conversation with his grandfather, and it's like too pure Gojo. This is prime example, too pure Gojo right here. Ugh, it just interesting guy. Very, very interesting. It was a very interesting direction to take a very typical scene, the walk in on somebody scene. It's completely ecchi, but why not? But it's okay because she's technically older. She's not a little kid. Obviously not a little kid. But yes, this is where we turn this whole conversation with Juju, and we find out that Juju is there because she found out through watching them cosplay and then following them home that Gojo made this cosplay for Kitagawa. And she really badly wants Gojo to make her cosplay because of how good that cosplay was. And in order to force him to do this for her, because he's like, no, this is not a business for me. I don't actually do this as a business. She's like, well, I'm going to scream and say that you've seen me naked, and I don't ever really like this whole joke. I honestly don't. It's one of those kind of I'll ruin your life if you don't do what I tell you to do. It's never been something I've ever liked. But hey, it forces Gojo to bring in another cute girl to do a cosplay, so who cares in the end? But yeah, this is funny because this is the point in which Kitagawa shows up, and it's one of those things where you immediately assume it's going to turn to a thing of Kitagawa now loving Gojo will suddenly become super jealous of Juju being there. But no, it just immediately turns into Juju's here. I'm super happy and I want to see her. She's so cute. Honestly, at this point, I think that Kitagawa would be more into the idea of bringing Juju into a relationship with Gojo than Gojo would. It's one of those things where she's so obsessed with this cute girl that she'd be willing to just kind of like, hey, sure, three people is fine. That's fine with me. I'm shipping it. Why not? I don't think in any shape or form Juju is going to beat Kitagawa at this point. It's like this is the new, this is the love triangle appearance, and it's like, yeah, but I don't think anything's gonna beat Kitagawa at this point. But hey, there's a group for Juju too. I think she's really cute, and technically Gojo's gone further with Juju than Kitagawa at this point. Oh my gosh. But yeah, we come to find out the cosplay that Juju wants is of specifically Black Lily, which they get into explaining about how there's this magical girl show where this magical girl at some point has to face up against who she finds out is her sister. She goes into the dark side and becomes Black Lily, and she really, really loves this character. And so she really wants a cosplay for it. And she said that she can get cosplays of it, but it's too difficult to kind of adjust it to her size, so she wants Gojo to make one specifically for her. And yes, at the same time, Kitagawa was like, I can become Neon, and I could be the sister, and we can cosplay together. It's like, no. But what was really cute, and it really came out of nowhere, in this scene, we really get an idea that Juju has an assumption about Kitagawa. And again, it's similar to what Gojo had an assumption with Kitagawa, is that she's a snobby, she specifically calls her a beach, but a B word of a girl that would be hard to deal with. But then when she starts talking about cosplay and she's like, well, why don't you cosplay Black Lily? And Kitagawa's like, no, she's not my size. Like, I would not be able to, I would not be similar body type as her. And I like her character so much, I wouldn't be willing to essentially ruin her image. And this is this shocked Juju. She's like, she's literally the cosplayer that I love. Like, this is somebody that, like, this is my spirit animal. This is somebody that understands me. And that frustrates her. And at the same time, she's like, I'm so sorry, because she now realizes this isn't a bad person. And I should have come to her more friendly, because obviously Juju wants to be friends with her now. Like, she realized this is somebody that understands me. I don't want to push her away, and I've been pushing her away. And now I want to be friends with her. Even though she won't admit it in the end, she will admit it eventually. But yes, and then the comment comes around. I'm sorry, I hope I didn't create any misunderstandings, because obviously you two are dating, and that freaks out Gojo, and he's like, no, I've never had a girlfriend before, and he runs away, and Kitagawa's getting excited because he realized that Gojo's never had a girlfriend, and Juju's just sitting there like, what the hell's with these people? But yeah, really awesome. It's funny because I assumed Juju would end up being the girl that rejected Gojo at the very beginning. That might still be her sister, because there's another character that's her sister. But, I mean, it could still end up being Juju in the end. But a solid introduction for Juju in the end. Obviously, super ecchi the entire episode, which I'm perfectly fine with. But it was nice that it was kind of an introduction, despite the fact that it's the whole, I'm going to force you, otherwise I'll take you to the police kind of thing. Outside of that, everything else was really solid. Getting that perspective of her misunderstanding who Kitagawa is. Obviously, again, that blossoming relationship, that acceptance that Kitagawa has. I think that's probably the pinnacle part of this episode. It's just that there's no will they, won't they at this point. Well, I mean, there's still a will they, won't they, but it's an aspect of, we already have established this point, Kitagawa does really like Gojo. And there's no real question of that. And I mean, it's funny to see that it was all sparked based on that one word that we obviously pointed out which was going to be the trigger word, which is beautiful, that he doesn't use lightly. It will be sad at this point if she doesn't get to that point of revealing to Gojo that she likes him, and then immediately turns into a thing of, he says that something that he makes for Juju makes her beautiful too. That's gonna hurt. Mark my words, Kitagawa will not completely confess to Gojo, or he won't realize that she confessed to him. And then eventually he's gonna make an outfit for Juju, and he's gonna say that she's beautiful, and it's gonna ruin something. We'll see. That's my prediction right now, but yeah. Love the episode. Really great. My Dress Up Darling, episode 6. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below. Comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. Support us on Patreon. I'll throw our tips, link in the description below. Definitely appreciate everybody that does. And y'all take care.